Recipe, the only recipe to a long-term successful relationship is to never leave. That's the only way you can get 30, 40 years. Said. To never leave. Yeah. Because we're gonna go through some things. And there's gonna be a lot of things that I say, this is it. This is the non-negotiable. But if I really am in it to be in it forever, like from the beginning, before I meet a man, I'm saying when I commit, I'm just doing this forever. That means I'm signing up and forgiving you before you do any of the bullshit you may come with. And that's challenging, but that's what real commitment is. Commitment is I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do, no matter how I feel. That goes back to what? Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a nucleus to any healthy relationship. If I'm committing to you and you piss me off, I've committed to stay. So where am I going? Where am I going? Doesn't mean I can't take a break. Doesn't mean I can't take a pivot. I can't go to brunch. I can't meditate. Can I take a weekend of woosah? But that means I'm not leaving you. Because leaving you while you're in your emotion is the pit of abandonment. That's worse than me walking out and returning. I should be able to sit in this with you, upset or not upset, until our emotions do whatever they're going to do and we get back to baseline. Right. Because that's the epitome of deliverance. That's the epitome of
Okay, there's a lot that I can say about this clip. However, I'm going to start by saying Dr. Bryant absolutely has no clue on what she's talking about. And her desire to be picked and acknowledged as different by Nick Cannon and Cam Newton, she's saying some pretty reckless things that put women in positions to be further depleted and lack self-value and self-esteem. So let's begin with the first problematic thing that she said.
But if I really am in it to be in it forever, like from the beginning, before I meet a man, I'm saying when I commit, I'm just doing this forever. That means I'm signing up and forgiving you before you do any of the bullshit you may come with.
So upon entering this fairy tale idea of trapping herself for the rest of her life, she already comes to the conclusion that she's not going anywhere and she's going to forgive him before he actually even commits the behaviors that he will commit with permission now. Because she just let him know she's not going anywhere, which gives that man free rein to drag this woman into the mud. She also calls a 30 to 40 year healthy relationship just by making the commitment to not go anywhere and tolerate and put up with plenty of transgressions. The one thing that is constant in life is change. And sticking yourself in a situation where you do not allow room for change, because some people may come into your life for a season or reason, but most people do not come to stay forever. Because very few times in life do we have similar life paths where we travel together. So this is teaching women not to have any boundaries for their lives. Make a man the center of your life, and in order to keep him, you must tolerate plenty of things and just get over it. What is the next problematic thing she said?
And that's challenging, but that's what real commitment is. Commitment is I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, no matter how I feel.
When you're speaking of finishing a project or fulfilling your desires for education or learning to play the piano or starting a business, doing what you said you were going to do in relation to purpose is commitment. That is correct. But when you're dealing in a relationship with another human being whose behavior and intent and purpose has an impact on your mental well-being, spiritual and physical well-being, how you feel in relation to that situation is critical, because your internal guidance system, which is very wise, is letting you know what is and is not healthy for you. Now, for her to be a therapist, to suggest that a relationship is a project that actually includes another living, breathing human being with their own thoughts, feelings, purposes, and directions in life, to approach it like it's an inanimate project that you're working on, is false information to be conveyed. Because that other person would actually have to want the relationship to go in the exact same direction that you want it to go in. Most often, that's not the case. What is the next problematic thing she said?
Intelligence is a nucleus to any healthy relationship. If I'm committing to you and you piss me off, I've committed to stay. So where am I going?
That's problematic because she's conflating emotional intelligence and commitment as if they're the same thing. Yes, emotional intelligence is critical for any healthy relationships. That is true. However, commitment has absolutely nothing to do with your level of emotional intelligence. Because your level of emotional intelligence can get you to talk things out. Be aware of when you should talk about something. Like, it's not emotionally intelligent to have a conversation while you're brewing with anger. It's emotionally intelligent to take some time and let the emotions clear down and then have a conversation. If what you're saying goes in one ear and out the other, and the person that you're talking to never gains self-awareness for themselves and actually plays a part in overcoming the challenges that are clearly challenges, your commitment has absolutely nothing to do with the emotional intelligence that you displayed. The emotional intelligence at this point should let you know that, this is not going to work. I had the intention on staying, but you're clearly showing me that I cannot stay in a relationship with you because the toxic patterns are not working out, because the toxicity that I'm addressing you on is a part of your character and personality, and that is critical. It's a critical reason for our dysfunction, and I'm going to have to end this. Emotional intelligence and commitment they're not synonymous. So yes, that was problematic. What's the next problematic thing she said?
Relationship, if I'm committing to you and you piss me off, I've committed to stay. So where am I going? Where am I going? Doesn't mean I can't take a break. Doesn't mean I can't take a pivot. I can't go to brunch. I can't meditate. Can I take a weekend of woosah? But that means I'm not leaving you. Because leaving you while you're in your emotion is the pit of abandonment. That's worse than me walking out and returning. I should be able to sit in this with you, upset or not upset, until our emotions do whatever they're going to do and we get back to baseline.
Dr. Bryant is totally unaware of her own behavior. She wants to be seen as a highly intelligent therapist who's actually positioning herself to be picked by the men that she's talking to. But she doesn't realize that she talks to them like children. She approaches them with a mothering approach. She's talking to Nick Cannon like he's her child, which is how she would talk to any man whom she's trying to quote unquote educate. And what I mean talking to him like he's a child, what I'm saying is she said that for me to leave you while you're in your emotions, that's the pit of abandonment. And I would not do that. She's approaching him as if she's a mother to a grown man who needs to not feel abandoned. She's talking to him like he's a 3-year-old child and that she's his mother. I will never abandon you, son. For me to leave you while you're angry and crying and upset, I would never do that, because that's the pit of abandonment. Men have to work out their own problems, and they don't need you to come in and tell them what their problem is, because women too often try to play Captain Save 'em. And this is how you end up in the situations you end up with men.